When I found out I was pregnant, there were a lot of people that did not want me to keep that child. But I said, that's your
Yeah.
opinion. What I'm making is my decision.
So you noticed at some point I was going like this whilst you were talking. I was literally having goosebumps. Welcome to Breakthrough with Sandy, the show where people share their real stories behind their breakthroughs. Every episode is a heart to heart conversation where people share their faith, their life stories, grief, business, healing, and everything in between. Nothing polished and nothing perfect. Just honest moments that shape who we are today. So I'm your host, Sandy Chinogre, and I love creating a space where people can share their stories, share their testimonies, share their struggles and their breakthroughs whilst inspiring other people to rise. So grab a cup of tea, cup of coffee, and settle in. And let's dive into today's conversation and let's talk all things breakthrough. So today I've got the wonderful Sylvia Naomi, and she's a travel mentor and business coach. Welcome, Sylvia. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to dive into this conversation.
So before we start, I would love to know if you can tell my audience who is Sylvia Naomi. Tell us a bit about yourself.
I love that so much. And first and foremost, thank you so much for having me here. It's a good place to be able to share my journey and my story. But for those who don't know me, I am Sylvia Naomi. I am a mom, a teacher, and a wife. And my journey on personal development and journey of discovering myself has been one that I love sharing with other people because I know there's so many people out there that are looking for ways to be able to change and transform their life. So I started my travel business 5 years ago. And that journey in regards to starting the business has helped me to grow in ways that I never thought possible. So now I can confidently say, I am Sylvia. I am a mom. I am a teacher. I'm a travel business owner and coach. And I'm so grateful for all the lessons that I've learned along the way and grateful for the lessons that I'm able to teach and impact on others.
Thank you, Sylvia. I'm so excited to be having the conversation with you today. So looking forward to this. So let's start at the beginning. Can you share a bit about yourself? What led you to where you are today? What led you to be Sylvia Naomi, the Sylvia Naomi that we know today? What has been your journey leading you up to this?
I love that question. And I love the fact that you've said what has led you to be the Sylvia Naomi that we know now, because I believe that our journey changes as we grow. So I was born in Kenya, born and raised in Kenya up to the age of 17. And then I was moved from Kenya to the UK. And that was a big change for myself. Right? It's literally, I felt like I'd been put into an alien world. And I had to discover how to actually cope with life and continue with living in this country that we call the UK. And I lost myself. I lost myself at some point because there was so much going on, so many different things that I needed to learn, so many expectations. And I found myself in a place where I didn't really know who I was, if that made sense. And then I became a mom whilst I was on my final year of university. So I became pregnant on my last year of uni. Like, what a
Wow.
time to get pregnant. What a time when you've got your dissertation and literally uni is just crazy. But I always believe that everything happens to you for a reason. When I became pregnant, and because I was a student and the place that I was living, I was kicked out. So I was made homeless whilst I was pregnant. And a lot of people don't know that because I don't really talk about it as much, but I just feel empowered to talk about it now. So
Yeah.
I was homeless, heavily pregnant, having high risk pregnancy in itself, going through so many medical appointments. And I was just like, what is happening? And I was put into this, I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called like a halfway house, where you basically get a room and you're sharing the room with other people who are in really difficult situations in itself. And I had this
Yeah.
little tiny box room. And I remember walking past there with my daughter the other day and saying, when I was pregnant with you, I used to live in that room. And it was such a tiny box room. And I literally felt like I was at rock bottom.
Wow.
Rock bottom. I'm like, here I am, heavily pregnant, not knowing what to do, not any experience of what that what I should do really. And I remember emailing all the local MPs in my local area and said something needs to happen. I am working, I was heavily pregnant, I just need some help to be able to get started. And luckily one of them helped me, and I was able to get a 1 bedroom flat basically 2 days before I gave birth. I didn't have money to buy carpet, furniture, any of that in itself, because I fell pregnant without planning it. It was God's
Mm,
divine time. And I
wow.
remember going to a carpet place and I literally saying to them, I've just been given a little flat. It's completely bare. There's nothing in there. I just need something to put on the ground. And they gave me the thinnest layer of carpet possible. And I remember laying that down, heavily pregnant,
Wow.
then to be induced the next day. So in that traumatic experience, I lost myself. I knew who I
Wow.
was as a mother, I knew who I was as a teacher, but I didn't know who Sylvia was. I didn't know. So it's not until I started my business 5 years ago and I actually became part of an incredible travel business community where we personally develop, we grow each other, we nurture each other. And that's when I started diving into personal development. I started diving into discovering who I am outside of being a teacher, outside of being a mom. And that's when I discovered Sylvia. And I discovered Sylvia has a powerful story. And I'm talking about myself in third person, which is so funny, but I discovered that I have a story, and every single challenge that I have gone through has led me to a place where I
Yeah.
am now, and I'm able to help support, nurture, and encourage each other. So, in a very well-rounded thing, in well-rounded way to answer your question, is the
Hmm.
situations that I have gone through that have built me, but also
Yeah.
seeing the situations as building blocks for my journey and accepting them, owning them, and also seeing the things that I've learned from them that have led me to who I am today.
Wow. What a powerful story. What a powerful story. To know that you took all these things, you were heavily pregnant, you're about to give birth, and here you are faced with all these challenges that could have potentially broken you, but you took those challenges and you used them as building blocks. And here you are today, being able to stand and share your story and inspire someone else. You've also inspired me whilst I was listening to you. It made me realize that there are no excuses. There are no excuses, and there's nothing that you are going through that nobody else out there has gone through. And I love that. I love that. So, what kept you going, Sylvia? What is it that has kept you going? Did you ever get to a stage whereby you thought, I'm done, I'm giving up, I'm walking away, I've had enough? Did you ever get to that
Um,
moment in your life?
I love that question. I love that question. And I always like the saying that says your test becomes a testimony to somebody else. So I love the fact that you've got this platform where people can share their tests and the testimonies to help others. But there have been moments when it's been a lot, when it's been heavy on my shoulders. But my faith
Mhm.
has been something that I've fallen onto, if that makes sense.
Wow.
In the sense that
Yeah.
even though things were falling apart, and even though
Mm.
it just wasn't making sense, I couldn't see the vision of where I was, because I couldn't see the Sylvia that I am now
Yeah.
when I was
Definitely.
homeless, when I was
Mm.
pregnant. I couldn't see that. But I just knew that God has put me in this world for a purpose and for a reason. And I knew that the gift of being pregnant, because people could have seen the pregnancy as a thing that's completely changed your life, because I wouldn't have been homeless if I wasn't pregnant, because I would have still continued being a tenant in our place. As soon as they found out I was pregnant, they had to kick me out. But then I didn't choose to see that as something that then has completely changed my life. I chose to see it as a blessing. And that's why my daughter's name is Eleni. It means by bright light, because she was the bright
Wow.
light at the end of the tunnel. So on the
Wow.
days that I have felt really, really depressed, really lonely, and lost, I just leaned back onto my faith. But also looking at my daughter's face, and like God chose me to be this
Yeah.
child's mother. There's something really, really special in me that God saw that I could impact on this child. So on those
Mm.
days when I wanted to give up, I looked at my daughter and I said, it's you and me against the world with God. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
repeated that over and over and over and over. As long as I've
Wow.
got you, we're okay. It's you and me. We've got this. God is with us. And that was the thing. And even up to now, I know you've had the pleasure of seeing my daughter. We have a really,
Yeah.
really close relationship because from the very, very beginning, I knew that it was me and her creating this life together, and me learning about being a mother, me learning about the different versions of myself that I have learned from being her mom. So, yes, there are moments that people want to give up, but that's when you discover that you just need to know what your why is. What is
Wow.
that one thing, or what is that, who is that one person that is so
Yeah.
significant for you and to you that you'd show up no matter what? So when I felt like I couldn't get up, I couldn't get dressed, it was all
Mm.
heavy, I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent, I didn't know where the money was going to come from. I just basically kept my faith and I said, I'm doing it for her. And when it came to moments of me building it and being strong for her, I found strength for myself.
Yeah.
You know, because I had this funny statement that I said to someone one Sunday, and I said, um, if you were a mother and you were told that if you walk around with just your
Mm-hmm.
underwear around your street 5 times, you are going to
Mm-hmm.
get enough money to pay for your child's whatever they need, you would do it. So I'd
Yeah.
realized that I will do whatever it takes to be able to meet the needs of what my child needs. And in the process of doing that, I've been able to meet the needs that I needed. Yeah.
Wow. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm sure you noticed at some point I was going like this whilst you were talking. I was literally having goosebumps. I was literally having goosebumps listening to your story. I just want to remind my audience a bit. Let's just backtrack a little bit and remind you of two things that are still mind-boggling in my mind right now. Two things that Sylvia has mentioned, and that is she was homeless and she was pregnant. I cannot think of anything tougher. It's one thing to be going through something whilst you've got a roof over your shoulder, over your head, whilst you've got a bed to lie in, a comfortable place to come back to and go through whatever you have to go through. But it's another thing when you have to be pregnant and with no roof over your head. And the fact that during this times you've been able to, keep the faith. It's been your faith that has kept you going. That's the other thing that has really stood out for me. It's your faith at the end of the day. You lost everything. You might lose everything else, but if you've got your faith, you're able to rebuild again. And the fact that you reflected this faith on your own daughter. You spoke words, you spoke things into existence, you spoke the positive things that had an impact and brought a change up over your life and your daughter. And I'm sure she can also stand today and testify that those words that you spoke, I'm so sure to some degree she still remembers them. So, Sylvia, tell me if you could go back, right? If you could go back in time and go back to that time that you were going through these hard times, that you were in that dark place, what advice would you give yourself? What advice would you give someone in that situation right now?
It's so interesting because when people ask me that, I always believe that my journey has been the way it is because I needed to learn the lessons that I've learned so that I can impact the knowledge of others. But the one thing that I'd say to myself that it's okay for you to share when you're struggling with the
Mm,
right people. And I've said that with the right people because the people that you choose to surround you are so significant. They can either uplift you or they can leave you down and step on you. And that is the true and the fact of life. So for me, I went through this alone and I just basically spoke to a couple, two friends. There was one
mm,
friend who was actually my birthing partner when I gave birth to my daughter, and she holds a special place to my heart. But I felt like I was alone, right? And
mm,
it was my faith with God that literally kept me going. But I reached out to my employer. So something happened at work, and I was really, really, my pregnancy was high risk. I couldn't work, right? And then
mm,
whilst I was off ill, someone at work suddenly passed away. And they offered
wow,
counseling to everybody in the school, right? I took my chance. I said, yes,
wow.
please, I would like counseling. And I went, and in that counseling session, I
Mm,
opened up my heart, my pain,
wow,
my trauma, my struggles, things that I went through when I was young. And I literally opened it up because I knew that that is a person who's not going to judge me, who's going to be there, who's going to
mm,
listen. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to go through it alone. You can find somebody, whether that is a pastor or even get counseling, and speak. about what you're going through for someone to listen. And those counseling sessions are what have kept me going because I needed to let go of my trauma and understand that this child is coming into this world and they need to
Mhm.
come to this world without me impacting my trauma with them. So, for anybody who's going through a challenging situation, whether it's being homeless, whether it's going through depression, whether it's going through loss, whatever it is that you are going through, just know that you do not have to go through it alone. There is somebody out there that God has placed in your life that you can share this part of your journey. But I have a spirit of discernment because I've had people who have spoken ill about me, like not about me, but really given me words that have been planted and they've made me doubt myself. But when you have a spirit of discernment and when you have that close relationship with your faith, you're able to pick on what are the key things that you need to listen to and you're able to find the key person. So for me, is that you do not have to go through this journey by yourself. There are people who are out there that can support you. So look for that support. And I'm always, if you want to talk to me after this, guys, I'm sure we're going to put my Instagram handle out there. Please do reach out. I want to help everybody so that they know they don't have to go through it alone. And the next thing I'd say, be okay with where you are. Do not compare yourself with other people's journey. Because if I had compared what was happening in my life to what I was seeing on social media, I would have completely crumpled down. I wouldn't have been had the strength of building myself. So I said, okay, this is what my situation looks like right now. What are the small things that I can do to actually start taking small steps? So this is what the picture looks like. This is what my life looks. Okay, I'm homeless. I'm pregnant. What action can I do to move me forward? So think about those things that you can do to move you forward is the key thing that I would say is important for everybody.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, if you are going through something at this stage of your life, please do take the time. Please do allow yourself to invest in your mental health. Don't be afraid to go through counseling, just like what Sylvia is telling us. Look, if she had decided to close up and not open up to someone, who knows where she'll be right now? She'll not be where she is right now. So don't be afraid to go through counseling. Don't be afraid to speak to someone. Don't die in silence. Thank you for sharing that, Sylvia. On that note, Sylvia, what is something that people have not seen about you on social media that has been real behind the scenes?
I that is a really, really powerful question because all my business partners always say to me, do I have to showcase my world? And I'm like, there are bits that you are going through on a day-to-day basis that you never share with the rest of the world. So for me, has been that internal work and personal development. That internal work. There's moments where I have uplifted myself when I'm feeling low. There's moments when I've picked up a book, when I've read a podcast, when I've actually felt fallen. Let's be honest, I've started so many different things that I want to do, and
Hmm.
day three, day three, and I'm like, okay, let's start again. So it's those building blocks of discovering myself. There is this quote that is said so often, but I think people really don't understand it. You know, when you hear something over and over and over and over, you think you understand it, but you don't, is you can't pour from an empty cup. That is so, 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 so true. You have to fill yourself and you pour from the overflow. So people don't get to see the crazy amount of podcasts that I listen to be able to surround myself with people who are where I want to be and people who have achieved things that I want to achieve and people who are pouring positivity into my life. Because you can either pour negativity or positivity. You get to choose. You know, they also don't get to see the countless hours that I spent coaching others, supporting others, and nurturing that in itself. I just recently announced that I got married. So I got married in the summer. Thank you. I'm so
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
I'm blessed to have the most incredible husband, and I kept that relationship private and I didn't really share much on social media. But I'm going to actually explain why, right? Because being a single mother and raising my child to the age of 11, I needed to basically make sure that I know that this is a solid relationship that has been ordained by God,
Mm-hmm.
right? I made a point. Remember how you said at the beginning, it's about choices. When I found out I was pregnant, there were a lot of people that did not want me to keep that child. But I said, that's your
Yeah.
opinion. What I'm making is my decision, right? I'm
Mm.
making this decision going forward. So I made a point to say that whatever happens, my focus is raising this child to the highest ability. And if it meant me
Yeah.
putting down not having a serious relationship for a while just to build those foundation, that was the key. But then also I've had trauma, I said I'm a single
Mm.
mom. Being
Yeah.
pregnant by yourself with being homeless and all of that, that's a lot of trauma, right?
Yeah.
Then having a
Yeah.
child coming, bringing a child home with no furniture, nothing at all, that is crazy, right? Nothing. Having no heating for the first couple of weeks because you've just got a house, you've not even set up any of that. You have a 30-degree tear, all of that traumatic stuff in itself. So I needed to me, build me, to understand
Yes.
me, to get to love myself again so that I can be able to first and foremost open myself to the possibility of seeing the love that God has placed in front of me. Because my husband is a blessing from God, because he's been in my life for 14 years. I didn't see it.
Wow. Wow.
I didn't see it because my eyes were blocked by all these experiences I was going through. I was on
Yeah.
survival mode. On
Wow.
survival mode. I just need to survive today. I just need to do what I need to do to get there. But the moment that I learned to love myself, not in the way that I wanted to love myself, but in the way that God says that I should love myself, because the Bible says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, fearfully and wonderfully made in God's image. So when I started seeing myself as the daughter of Christ, the daughter of a father who loves me, because I didn't have a father either. And then I'm thinking, I never had a father in my life. I've got a daughter. She doesn't have a biological
Wow.
father. What's
Yeah.
going on here? So it's
Mm-hmm.
that internal personal growth, learning to love myself, learning to understand my strengths and weaknesses that people don't showcase and don't see on social media, because we tend to showcase the highlight, right?
Yeah.
But I'm quite raw. So some people have seen elements of me on social media where I'm raw, but it's that internal work. And it's okay for you to go through that phase by yourself and in the silence. It's
Wow.
okay. It is okay,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
then you're focusing on the voices that you need to hear whilst you're building yourself. If you think about the foundation of a house, and I'm a visual learner, so I love visual
Yeah.
stuff, right?
I love
If you,
visuals too. Yeah.
I know, if you think about the foundation of a house,
Yeah.
so you've got this amazing plan, it's all there, and then they're starting. The foundation has to be strong, but nobody ever gets to see it again. Think you never see
Oh,
the foundation of your house, but it
wow.
holds the house
Wow.
together strongly. So
That
the
is powerful.
foundation of your life is
Mhm.
you. So treat that foundation of your life with the
Mhm.
highest, and I mean highest respect. Love you first, because then people can show you how to, they can learn how to love you by how you love yourself. So those are the key
Right.
things that people will not see on social media, but are so significant, and invest time in that. Like you said about mental health, you're
Yeah.
exercising, eating well, all those stuff are so, so important. And they're so key of building somebody to be the best version of themselves.
Wow. 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 Love it. Love it. Who's the one person, Sylvia, that has kept you motivated during this time? Who has kept you motivated? Who's been there? Who's been like holding your hand, keeping you grounded, keeping you accountable, making sure that you don't fall again, that they hold your hand through it all? Who has been that one person?
I'd say first and foremost, God, because God has brought people in my life that I'm like, where did they come from? How did we
Wow.
connect? My team are amazing, and those
Mm.
are people that God has brought into my life that have helped me to build and develop, and become the person that I am. So that is has been through God. God bringing people like you. God people bringing like my incredible mentor Leonie. God bringing people on YouTube, Terry Savelle, Ed Milan, all those podcasters, all those people, like Oprah Winfrey, those people that have a lot of wealth of information on YouTube, that we can actually take and apply into our life and help. But the one key person outside of God and outside of all the other personal development stuff that I've done, my daughter, my
Wow. I love
daughter,
that.
she is my biggest accountability partner. She
Mm-hmm.
holds me accountable in life, in business, in my relationship with her as a mother, in literally everything. There was I'm going to share a story. There was a moment, like at the very beginning stage of my journey in business, and she figured out that when I go to bed, mum sits down and works on her business instead of watching TV. And then there
Yeah.
was this week that I didn't have the inspiration, the motivation. I just didn't have it. I was just having a low week. And she noticed that she went to bed and I left my diary upstairs. She literally brought it down every single night and said, Mum, I thought you could keep working in your business.
Oh my gosh.
And there's no way I would have picked that and not
Wow.
taken the action. So when I realized that she is my biggest motivator and my biggest inspiration, I attached my why to her. So I created a vision board. And I'd advise everybody to create a vision board. You have to live in regards to where you're going, not in your present moment and not in your past.
Yeah.
So you have to enjoy today and be present for today, but always have a vision of where you're going. Don't look at the rear view mirror, look at where you are going. So that vision board, I put it on her room, I put it in my fridge, it's on my phone. We sat down, we spoke about it, and I said, this is my goals, this is what those goals are going to help us as a family, and what is it that you'd like for me to add on there. So I added elements of her goals, and I said, let's hold each other accountable. So she, up to this day, up to this day, she's still my biggest accountability partner. So I'd say to parents, because I'm a parent, don't keep what you're working on away from your children. Bring them into it. Bring your children into your businesses. Bring your children into talking about finances. Bring your children into talking about relationships, because you are impacting not just the knowledge of how you're doing things, but they also become your motivation and they inspire, because they my daughter spends so many hours in my house. She gets to see
Mm-hmm.
everything. So she's got to be my inspiration. So it's God, the community that God has brought into my life, but most importantly my daughter. And my husband has literally supported everything as well. All the things that I've needed for business, he's been there because he's been a friend for a really long time, and that's been a blessing.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Awesome. So it just goes to show that our children, they just don't do what we say. They actually do what we do. They see what we're doing. You know, you might not say it out loud, but they are actually out there watching our lives and see how we're getting on with our lives. And in this case, we see that your daughter sort of like reminded you that, no, mom, today I haven't seen you working on your business, you know, and that's encouraging. That's a motivation for us parents to do better, to know that our children are actually watching what we're doing. I love that. I absolutely love that. So, what's the one thing, Sylvia, that you would want the listener who's listening right now to understand about your story or about your industry?
Okay. So I'll start with my story and say my story is my story. It's powerful to me, right? But guess what? Your story is your story. It's powerful to you, and it can impact and change the lives of so many other people. So love you, love your journey, and love the things that you're working towards in itself. So that is the most important thing. The one thing I'd say is that you can come across really, really hard situation. I just shared one example of me being homeless whilst pregnant. There's a lot of different things that I have gone through, but you can either let those situations hold you back, or
Mm-hmm.
you can actually use them as a way to build yourself. So always look at a situation and ask. I always ask God this all the time. Okay, so what is it that you want to learn? You want me to learn here? Anytime
Yeah.
there's a situation that comes my way, I'm like, okay, so this is happening. What is it that I'm supposed to be learning from this situation? So I'd like to encourage every single person to get a pen and paper and do a brain dump, and literally write all the things that you think about your past, about things that you wanted to do in the future. Literally dump them down on a piece of paper, and then separate them. What is your past? And then think about my past, what have I healed from and what do I need to heal from? And you separate those two. So then you're able to start working on healing on those things, because once you heal on those things, it clears out the mind space for you to be able to work on the future you. But you have to take time to actually really think about that, and so that you can be able to let it go. And then think about your future. What are the things that you want to achieve in the future? And then separate them down. What are the things that you can do immediately? And what are the things that you need to work on slowly but slowly? So that's one thing that I want to leave everybody, because I don't want everybody to think, okay, she shared her story, but how do I get to actually start working on mine? So look at it, love who, love where you've been, right? Accept that that's what your story has started, accept that that's where you are. Look at it in a clear view. Those are things that I've healed from. These are things that I need to heal from. Okay, so that's one section. So that you can put it behind you and take with you the lessons that you've learned from every single situation. And then you take those lessons and you look at your future. What does your financial future look like? Where do you want to live? What sort of dreams, what sort of goals do you have in front of you? And then you can start creating little action plans that you can take. Luckily, you've got Sandy, she's a life coach. She'll be able to help you with that. You've got me as well, so you can reach out at any point, so that you can then be able to start living in the now whilst working on creating the future that you want. But for those people who just want to know, what is it that I do? And thank you so much for allowing me to share this. So I am a travel business mentor and coach. So I show people how they can start their own travel businesses. You don't need experience, you don't need any knowledge, you don't need nothing, you just come as you are. So I show you how to, first and foremost, book travel for yourself, for your family, and earn the commission that is built into the price anyway. And I also show you how to develop yourself and help other people along the way. So that is the simplicity of my business. You have a travel business that you can book travel for other people and earn commission from it. No experience is needed, no targets, no quotas, no contract. You start as you are and you build it slowly by slowly. You also have a marketing business where you're able to share the business with other people and allow them to also benefit from the business. So I coach all those people who've come across me. We've got over 247 families now. And my goal is to not stop until every single person that is attached to me is earning an extra £500 minimum and then some from this business. So that is what I do. And for anybody who's curious, okay, I love to travel. How can I turn this into an income? Okay, I want a community of people that can support me and nurture me and help me to personal develop. How can I get access to that? So please, please, please get in contact with me either on Instagram with at snaomi90, same on TikTok, and I'll share all the information with you. But Sandy, thank you so much for just creating this platform where people are able to learn, share their story, because this has been healing for me as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate hearing that. And I really appreciate having you here. I knew that we were going to have a conversation, but I didn't realize it was going to be this inspiring. Thank you so much. And thank you above all for being real, for being honest, for being open. You didn't you didn't hold back, you didn't hold back on anything. You let it all out. Thank you so much. And I'm sure the majority of my viewers, and I'm sure those that are going to be watching this, are going to be motivated and they're going to find this really relatable. And I know someone listening today really needed to hear this. If you've enjoyed this conversation that I've had with Sylvia, and if you want to know where you can find Sylvia, I'll put her links in the comments. Make sure to check the comment section. I'll put her links there. So let's wrap up for today. If you want to hear more of these conversations, be sure to subscribe, like, and follow this channel. And make sure you share this video with someone who needs this. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.